I'm William Baker, and I'm coming to you from the Jane Sullivan Choral Library at the William Baker Choral Foundation Center in Roeland Park, Kansas. This coming Sunday, 2:00 p.m. at Grace Holy Trinity Cathedral in Kansas City, Missouri, the 100-voice Summer Singers of Kansas City and Orchestra with soloist Victoria Botero, soprano, Zachary Devin, tenor, Kaitlyn Rongish as the youth, and Dr. Josh Markley as the prophet Elijah will perform the glorious oratorio Elijah by Felix Mendelssohn. For more information, please visit choralfoundation.org/concerts. Thank you for joining me in this pre-concert video chat as I share thoughts about our performance of Mendelssohn's Elijah. Why is Mendelssohn's Elijah so popular? It must be considered one of the top 10 choral works known and loved by musicians in the English-speaking world. Of course, the music is stirring and the story is riveting. Despite the fact that he died at the age of 38, Mendelssohn's creativity and innovation in musical composition, his excellent sense of form and melody, and his gift for finding the dramatic element in biblical narrative has made him among the greatest composers from one of music's golden ages. Still, there's something else. Mendelssohn began sketches of the oratorio that would become Elijah as early as 1837. Energized by the success of his first oratorio, St. Paul, he collaborated with two literary friends, Karl Klingerman and Julius Schubring, about the story, but later set the project aside. In June 1845, he was commissioned by the Birmingham, England Festival Committee to compose a new major work. With Schubring's assistance, he prepared a German libretto, completed the work in early 1846, and engaged William Bartholomew to translate the oratorio into English. The premiere was conducted by the composer at Birmingham Town Hall on August 26, 1846. The premiere performance was in English. The biblical epic was an instant success and has remained popular to this day. Indeed, if Handel's Messiah is the most popular oratorio in the English language, Mendelssohn's Elijah is second to it. The work is often called Mendelssohn's opera because of its larger-than-life characters and theatrical dimensions. The role of the prophet is filled with the dichotomies of leadership. Elijah is at once heroic and hiding. He is mocking and insulting, and then he is gracious and noble. The same man who daringly challenges a heathen horde to a sacrificial duel sulks away into the wilderness, begging his God to take his life. Elijah leads his people to petition God for mercy, and then to shake their collective fist at God for not delivering mercy on their terms. Perhaps the story of Elijah is so endearing because it is our own story. We have all been noble and cowardly. We've all been angry at God, and we have hidden from him in our own wilderness. Like the people in our story, we have all danced on the altar of a false idol of one sort or another, and we have all reveled in the joy of forgiveness and redeeming grace. Mendelssohn created his oratorio Elijah largely from the historical narrative found in the last chapters of 1 Kings and the first chapter or two of 2 Kings. He also interspersed canticles and psalms from other areas of the Old Testament to function as commentary on the unfolding story. Elijah is one of the highest prophets in Jewish history. His role in Christian understanding is so central that Jesus himself was asked if he were a reincarnation of Elijah. Also, in the story of the Transfiguration, it was Moses representing the law and Elijah representing the prophets that appeared on the mountain with Christ. In Islam, the character of Elijah is described as a great and righteous prophet in the Quran. Jewish tradition holds that the author of 1st and 2nd Kings, which were actually originally conceived as one book, was the prophet Jeremiah. This is also the case, of course, with the book that bears Jeremiah's name, and with the book of Lamentations. Since these books flesh out the theological ideas expressed in Deuteronomy, they are often called the Deuteronomic history by modern theologians. However, despite these strong indications, the authorship of the Book of Kings cannot be known with certainty. A characteristic of the author is a fondness for recording in detail the events of his nation's past. You can see this in his painstaking recording of the events of names and dates and records of preparations for the building of the temple. The author carefully records how, after the reign of Solomon the Wise, the kingdom was divided into separate entities, the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judea. Elijah appears in the subkingdom of Samaria in roughly the 9th century BC, during the reign of Ahab. Ahab married a priestess of the pagan storm god Baal, Jezebel, who by every account was quite the troublemaker. She was allowed to bring a large contingent of followers of Baal and also the mother goddess Asherah into the kingdom. Jezebel soon effected the mass execution of the followers of Yahweh, setting the stage for Elijah's challenge and confrontation with the priest of Baal. Looking at the human angle of the story, it is especially interesting to note that as a storm god, Baal's specialty was rain and storm and thunder. Elijah's challenges went straight to the heart of Baal's supposed strengths. His taunting words and actions, especially dousing the altar with water before successfully calling on God to set it aflame and condemning the prophets of Baal for their flagrant violation of Mosaic laws, such as self-laceration, are strong illustrations of the unity of political and religious struggles. The mass execution of the disgraced priest of Baal at the end of this narrative is a witness to the importance of monotheism in the Jewish understanding of God from the time of Moses. The Lord is God, O Israel, hear. Our God is one Lord, and we will have no other gods before the Lord. The linkage of the stories of Moses and Elijah is also demonstrated in the second part of our oratorio, when the angel comes to Elijah and tells him to nurture his strength, because there's a long journey before him. The journey is to Mount Horeb, also known as Mount Sinai, which was the place where God revealed the law to Moses in what is commonly called the Ten Commandments. Thus, the term Mount Sinai is associated through classical rabbinical literature with the idea of personal and social holiness. It's interesting to note that it was in the place of holiness that Elijah has the experience of God coming in the still small voice. This event ties back to the earlier confrontation with the priest of Baal, when after the Baal followers had engaged in dancing and self-mutilation to no avail, it was Elijah's simple prayer of faithful submission, "Cast thy burden upon the Lord," that brought the fires of heaven to consume the sacrifice. One of the great puzzles to theologians is the fact that Elijah seems to be the only person, undisputably by strict adherence to the Torah, in recorded history whose entrance into heaven did not involve physical death. It should be said, however, some interpretations, of which I personally concur, of the Genesis 5:22-24 story of Enoch imply that he was taken into heaven alive, but the wording is sufficiently vague to suggest at least the possibility that Enoch's ascension was post-death. It should also be noted that some more modern Jewish traditions, including extra-scriptural texts such as the Midrash and the Talmud, suggest a handful of other people also ascended into heaven without experiencing physical death. I believe that great music gives voice to the stirring of the human heart and soul. In Mendelssohn's Elijah, we find all the elements of our relationship with our Creator, with each other, and with the deepest regions of ourselves. I know that our concert journey through this masterwork of musical and spiritual transformation will be one that each of us will treasure as long as we live. Again, I'm William Baker, Music Director of the Summer Singers of Kansas City. Please join us for our performance of Mendelssohn's Elijah, Sunday, August 14th, 2 o'clock at Grace Holy Trinity Cathedral. choralfoundation.org/concerts. Thank you.